Good morning, Year Six, and welcome to Tuesday's literacy lesson. I saw some really fantastic work yesterday, and handwriting and spelling. Super work, Jaden in school yesterday, working with Mrs. Carter. Absolutely fantastic. So well done. Having a little look at spellings again to start off with today. And we're going to have matching a word to the definition because it's no use being able to spell lots of words if you don't know how to use them or can't use them in your work. So, yesterday we were introduced to a new suffix, CIAL, shull. There's two ways of spelling that shull suffix ending. There's CIAL or there's TIAL. And we found that the words that we were looking at yesterday, they all have the shull ending, and we know the rule from yesterday is if the word ends in a vowel, then we use shull. Okay, so what are we going to do today? Well, you are going to be looking at the definitions of those words. What do those words mean? So I started you off. I've got 4 definitions here. So you will need to look at your words really carefully. Use thesaurus.com. That's a really good place to start. Okay. And you need to match the word to its definition. So, number 1, which of the words from your list means bitterly cold or icy? Number 2, which means involving an extremely important result or decision? Number 3, which means helpful or advantageous? And number 4, which of your words, means authorized or a person appointed to perform a specific role or duty? So, in your book, your purple book, you're going to put the date, you're going to put the learning question. You don't need to write the definitions, you just need to put 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, when you've done that, you're going to leave a line and you are going to choose 4 other spellings from your list. And this time, you are going to need to challenge me. Can I work out which of the words from your spellings you have created the definitions for? Okay, so you're challenging Mrs. Heavey. Okay, do I know what these words mean? So I'm looking forward to getting my brain frazzled when I look at your work later with all of these fantastic definitions you've done. So recap, date, our learning question is, can I match the word to its definition? You're going to do the 4 I've set you. You don't need to write those out. Just write 1, 2, 3, 4 and choose the correct word. Thesaurus.com is a great place to be looking up the definitions of those words. And there are other online thesauruses as well. And then you are going to challenge me. 4. Okay. 4 definitions. Can I match your definitions to a word from the spelling list? Okay. Pause the video and off you go. Right, hopefully, because you've used beautiful cursive writing, I will have been able to answer your questions later on. So we're going to have a little look at handwriting again today. And so far, we've looked at F, and we've looked at V, and we've looked at K, and we've looked at W. And I've really seen some super handwriting. And again, those people who were working in school yesterday saw some absolutely lovely drawings. I could see that Reese, you were trying incredibly hard with those. Excellent. So let's have a little look then at Z today. So again, it's one of those letters that I'm having to relearn my bad habits because I didn't learn to do a Z like this. Okay, so let's have a little look. So we lead into our Z and then we go into our Z, and then this is where it's going to go off and join the rest of the word if it needs to. So we lead in, into our Z, and then we're going out. Okay, so we'll try it again. My Z's are getting a bit better as I go along, aren't they? Okay, so we've got that Z going on. All right. So We haven't got any Z's in our spelling words, but we have got one Z word in our text today. And because it's got a bit of a Greek theme, I've looked up some other Greek words that have got Z's in them. Okay, so we're going to have a little go. I'm going to model them and then you will be able to have a go. So again, you won't need to do an extra page in your spelling book or your handwriting book because you've done handwriting here in your purple book and you've already just done a spelling activity. Okay, so let's have a look. So I'm going to lead into my S, into my E, I, into my Z, and then into my E. And then finally, I dot my I. Okay, so let's do that again. I can just squeeze one in, I think. Lead into my S, E, I, into my Z, and then into my E. Okay, notice that I'm trying to get as really uniform size for my lowercase letters. All right, now let's try eczema. Okay, some of you I know in school have got eczema, so it's a very interesting spelling. Okay, here we go. So I go into my E, C, Z, into my E, into my M, and into my A. I haven't got anything to dot or cross, so I've finished with my word there. Let's try again. Okay, so lead into my E, C, Z, E, M, A. Okay, right, then we've got zoologist. So this person who's interested in working with animals. Okay, so let's have a little look. So the Z's at the beginning here. So lead into the Z, into my O, O tall, L, then I'm into my G. The G is sitting nicely on the line. When I've finished, I can dot my I, cross my T. Let's try again over here, into my Z, O, O, L, O, G, I, S, and T, and I can dot then. And then finally, we've got zone. And again, the Z's at the beginning. So Z, O, N, E. Let's try again. Lead into the Z, O, N, E. So underneath your spelling work, you are going to leave a line, put, can I practice my handwriting in your purple book? You're going to do me 2 lines of Z's, 2 lines of C's, eczema, zoologist, and zone. And I'm really looking forward to seeing some fabulous Z's. Pause the video, off you go. Okay, so we're going to have a little look at our text now. That's our next activity. And we're going to be looking today at pages 24 and 25. So if you get your book ready, pause the video if you haven't quite got it, and then go and make sure you've got it in front of you. So you'll need page 24 to start off with. And what we've got today is we've got an adventure, Theseus. Okay, he's one of the Greek heroes. You might know him from defeating the Minotaur. Okay, and he was a bit of an adventurer, and he had lots and lots of adventures and met lots and lots of mythical creatures that he defeated. Okay, because he was very clever and he was very brave. He was also a bit of a rotter. Okay. So, we're going to have a little look at this particular adventure where he comes across 2 particularly nasty people. Okay, so one is a cruel giant called Sinus, okay, and the other is a robber called Sciron. So we've got some lovely vocabulary, and to get us into the mood for our tricky vocabulary, I've set you a little task. So you are going to be having a little look at the find one word. So not a phrase, not a sentence, one word. Okay. So let's have a little look and see. So you've got to find one word which means wicked in the text, one word which means innocent. You need to find one word which means obeyed. You've got to find one word which means flung. Okay, and you've got to find one word which means cavernous. And then you've got to find one word which means dodged. Okay, so you're doing a little bit of detective work. So you're going to read through the text. And what I suggest how you approach this is underline those words that you think are tricky or you're not quite sure of, because they're bound to be one of these, okay, that means the same as these. When you have underlined those words, go to an online thesaurus like thesaurus.com and look up the definitions of those words. And then you should be able to match those up to the words here. Okay, so you'll need to pause the video. You're going to put find one word underneath, leave a line underneath your handwriting that you've just done, and then you're going to put find one word, and then you don't need to write the sentence, just find me the word 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you can write those down. Okay, so pause the video, off you go. Okay, year 6, let's see how you got on. So, a word which means wicked, you should have identified that as cruel. Okay, so then innocent, we're looking for unsuspecting. Sorry, it's with a delay there, my U was not joined. Okay, so I'll try and join that now. So, unsuspecting. And then you had obeyed, and that you were looking for complied there. Okay, complied. So obeyed, went along with. Then you had a word which means the same as flung. Okay, and that's hurled. Okay, hurled. And then cavernous. I was looking for the word gaping there. So well done if you found that. And finally, a word which means the same as dodged is the word eluded. Okay, so let's just go through those again. So one word which means the same as wicked, cruel. A word which means the same as innocent, unsuspecting. A word which means the same as obeyed, complied. A word which means the same as flung is hurled. And a word which means the same as cavernous is gaping. And then a word which means the same as dodged is eluded. Okay, so well done if you found all of those. So we're going to have a look now. So you need your book in front of you. We're going to have a little look at the text. So I'm just going to put it underneath the visualizer. If you've got it in front of you, then it's easier to read. Okay, so it says Theseus continued his journey in peace until he came to the Isthmus of Corinth, where 2 adventures awaited him. So he's gone on a bit of an adventure, okay, and as I say, lots of things happened to him. So the first that it eventually came across was a cruel giant named Sinis, and he was nicknamed the Pine Bender. And what his usual practice was to bend some huge pine until its top touched the ground and call to any unsuspecting, and we know that means innocent now, okay, just like we know that cruel is the same as wicked, unsuspecting passerby to seize it and lend him a helping hand for a moment. And as soon as the innocent stranger had complied, and we know that means got on with it, okay, obeyed his request, he was suddenly let go the pine, which freed from its gigantic grasp and sprang back to its upright position and hurled the unfortunate traveller way up into the air to be dashed to pieces against the rocky mountainside. So a rather horrible person, rather horrible giant. So he bends this tree down. He asks somebody who doesn't know what he's up to, oh, can you give me a hand? I'm a bit stuck here. Person then holds onto the tree. He lets go and he's flung to his death. Okay, so Theseus, who had already heard of the giant stratagem, and stratagem is down at the bottom of your page in the glossary, and it means trick. Okay, so he skillfully eluded, and we know eluded means dodged. So he knew what he was up to, so he was able to escape it. Okay, he eluded the danger and finally caused Sinis or Sinis to perish by the same cruel death which he had dealt out to so many others. So he wasn't going to fall for the trick, and in the end, Sinis gets his just deserts. He dies the same way as lots of travellers did. So, in one place in the Isthmus of Corinth was exceedingly narrow, and the only practicable pathway led along a rocky ledge. So you could only go this particular way, and it was very narrow. It was guarded by a robber called Sciron, who forced all who tried to pass him to wash his feet. Interesting. And while the traveller was thus engaged, so while the traveller was doing that and knelt in the narrow pathway to do his bidding, he would suddenly raise his foot, kick him over the side, and hurl him down into the sea below, where there was a huge tortoise at the bottom, was ever waiting with gaping jaws to devour the victims. So, in other words, going to munch it. So, gaping, cavernous, open mouth, and the victims fell into it, and the tortoise would have a very nice meal. So, again, not a very nice character. So instead of yielding to Sciron's exactions, and we've got two little asterisks again, which tells us that these words are in the glossary. So yielding means giving in, and exactions means demands. Theseus drew his sword, and by his determined bearing so terrified the robber that he offered him a free passage. So he drew his sword, and he looked so, so fierce that the robber sort of said, "No, you can go past. Okay, yeah, you carry on." This offer, however, did not satisfy Theseus, so he wasn't happy with that. He wanted to sort of dish out some vengeance. Who said he would sheathe his sword only on condition that Sciron performed for him the menial office. And again, we've got a little asterisk. If we look at the glossary, it says lowly task. Okay, menial office, lowly task. So in other words, Theseus wouldn't put his sword away, and he wouldn't do he wouldn't carry on until Sciron had washed his feet. He had imposed upon so many others. So he was getting, he wanted, just like he got Sinis to have a taste of his own medicine, he was doing the same thing with Sciron. Okay, so Sciron dared not refuse. Well, he wouldn't if you've got a sword right in front of you, would you? And obeyed in fear and trembling. So we've got an idea of how he was feeling here. He's feeling rather scared, isn't he? But he was doomed never to molest anyone again. Molest there means attack. Okay. For Theseus kicked him over the precipice. And again, we've got another asterisk which tells us the steep cliff. Into the breakers, so into the waves, where the tortoise feasted upon his remains with as keen a relish as upon former victims. So he enjoyed eating Sciron as much as he had enjoyed eating Sciron's victims. So, yeah, but, I suppose in a way, when you read the story, you can think that probably they'd been such horrible people, they perhaps deserved a bit of a taste of their own medicine. So let's have a little look at what you're going to be doing today. So you have got some questions, and we've done lots of work to help you already this morning to answer these questions. So number one, what do you think the word eluded in line 10 means? Now, we looked at that in our words, find one word. So you can skip back in the video and have a little look at that. And you can also look in line 10. Okay, it says that Theseus, who'd already heard of the giant stratagem, skillfully eluded the danger. So you can read it in context. Does that help you? Okay, so we've got eluded. So number 2, you've got to explain how Theseus conquered, how he beat Sinis. Okay, what did he do? How did he get rid of Sinis? Then why were people travelling on the Isthmus of Corinth unable to avoid Skiron? So think about what it says. Okay, have a little look in the paragraph 3. In one place, the Isthmus of Corinth was, and you might get a bit of a clue in that first part of the section. So why couldn't they escape this the robber Skiron? Then in the third paragraph, which verb does the writer use that means to eat? So if you don't know, if you can't find the word, look up eat in your thesaurus, and then you'll be able, I'm sure you will find the word in the text. Then one of the synonyms of eat will be in the text. Okay. Then, how did Skiron feel when he was forced to wash Theseus's feet? And why do you think he felt this way? Okay, so that's asking you here. Okay, he said he dared not refuse and obeyed in fear and trembling, but he was doomed. Okay, so how do you think he felt? This is a 2 marker. So you need to give that extra bit of detail. So give me a quote from the text. So I think Skiron felt because it says in the text, and then give me that quote. This means, okay. So I'm looking for that kind of answer. So if I show you here, sort of modeling that particular answer, I'm grabbing a pen now from there. Okay, so I would like you to say something like, he felt, and then you'll put in what you think, because it says, and then you'll give me a quote, and then this means. Okay, so you're going to tell me how he felt because it says in the text, find me a quote, and then explain what that quote means. Okay, what does it tell us? Okay, so how do we know it's a myth? Well, look at what is going on in the story and who appear in the story. Okay, and you've got an idea. If you're not sure, then what you might want to do is Google what is a myth and what are the features of a myth, and then that might help you to answer that question. Okay, and then do you think Theseus survived the journey to Athens? And again, this is a 2 mark answer, this one. So I'm looking for something like, I think he survived, or I think he didn't survive, because I think if I was writing this one, I would be putting something like, I think Theseus survived because he demonstrates in the text that he is very clever and he overcomes 2 really nasty robbers and giants, okay, in the story. So I'd be talking about that. It shows he's got, he's clever, he's brave. So I think he'll make it. But you might have a different idea. You might think, well, he might come across, he might think he's really good and these things happen and he might sort of become a bit too big for his boots. So you decide what you want to do. Okay. So I've not got a challenge as such today. I've got something different today because what I want you to do is I want you to evaluate your work independently. Okay. So can I independently evaluate my work? So your literacy work today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the dice. And then we've got some, whatever it lands on. If it lands on a 1, this is the task that you're going to have. If it lands on a 2, a 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so if it lands on a 1, what was the outcome of the lesson supposed to be? So what were you supposed to be able to do by the end of the lesson? So look at the learning question, have a little look. Have we got that right? Do you feel that you could do that from what we did? Then, number 2, what were you most pleased? And it should have with there. Okay, what were you most pleased with? I think my pictures moved along a bit. So what were you most pleased with? So what did you like? Was there a particular answer? Was a particular word that you found that you thought, oh, I didn't know I knew that word? Okay, so what is it? Number 3, did you learn anything new? So perhaps you learned the definitions of new words. Perhaps you learned a new story that you didn't know before. Okay. What did you find tricky? So was it the words in the text? Was it the style of the text? Was it some of the questions? It's knowing the detail. How could you have helped yourself more? So, did you pause the video? Did you do the steps? Did you look at the words before you started the activity, or did you just skip on to what page am I on? Okay, and then you cut out the steps, which meant that you perhaps weren't able to do this as quickly and as carefully as you would have liked. And then finally, what helped you with your learning today? So was it having a look at the text beforehand? Was it listening about the text? Was it looking at the words and finding out the meanings beforehand? So what helped you? So when in your purple book, underneath, where you've done your spelling and your handwriting and the find one word activity, you don't need to write this out. You're just going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whichever one we land on. Okay. And then you're going to answer. Give me your answer, and then I'd like you to take a little picture of your answer and then send it to me, okay? Because it'd be really interesting to see what you think about your work, okay? So you can send me a picture of your page, and I will see all of this, including this. So let's have a little go. Let's roll the dice. Let's see if this works. Woohoo! This is Heavey. Fantastic. And we've landed on a 2. So what were you most pleased with? So, what in your literacy work today are you most pleased with? Is it your handwriting? Is it your spelling knowledge? Is it your comprehension work that you found out new words and you've been able to answer all of the questions really carefully today? So, have a little think about it, and I look forward to seeing your work. Have a really lovely day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye, everybody. Bye.